Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, and we're going to be discussing again the hold the line conjecture. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Now, the hold the line conjecture, I should probably start with the definition of conjecture. It's more or less a conclusion that we can form based on supporting evidence, but there's not really a conclusive proof to show that it has to hold up, or there's also not a proof yet to show that it won't hold up. But it's just something that we've observed in the past, and we are just waiting to see if it will actually hold. Okay? So, the general idea, and I've mentioned this in a few videos, but I've always sort of just briefly touched on it. And in this video, we actually want to go back throughout the entire history of Bitcoin and show you exactly what I mean. So the hold the line conjecture is basically the idea that once we hold the line, once Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin holds the line at a certain valuation at the 20-week SMA, so when it holds the line at the 20-week SMA, then in the future, whenever we go below the 20-week SMA, we should be able to theoretically hold the line at that level. And you can see that previously we held the line at approximately $40,000 with a wick on some of the daily time frames down to just below $40,000. And so we are still testing this, this idea, right? We don't know yet if it's actually going to hold. We are certainly trying to hold the $40,000 level. It does not have to hold, but this is something we're going to wait to see. Does it actually work or does it not work anymore? The reason we've looked at this is because we've also noted in the past that once we held the line at 10K, we never really went back down to it. Now, some people might say, well, we will go back down to 10K. I would actually completely disagree with them. I don't think that's going to happen. But this is not really the cycle. This is not really the market cycle you should necessarily use to make the claim, since we haven't actually had enough time to realistically test all of these hold the line areas. If you go back and you look at where Bitcoin, if it doesn't hold the line, then we can easily go back down. If it doesn't hold the line, we're pretty much destined to go down for a while, as we've noted before. But the key thing is that even when we don't hold the line, what we've seen in the past is we typically go down to wherever we typically have not gone lower than where we have previously held the line at. And the last time that Bitcoin held the line before this market cycle was back over here in 2017 at approximately $3,000. And you'll note that we ended up not going below that level ever again, unless you assume that Bitcoin will go back below $3,000 one day. And then if you go back further in Bitcoin's market cycles, or even within that cycle, you can see whenever we hold the line, we typically just only either go up from there, or whenever we come back down, we actually hold that price as future support, even if we're below the 20-week moving average. So note that every time that we held the line here, we never revisited prices below it. And we should keep going back because there's more examples than this. Of course, you can go back and look at, say, the last time we potentially held the line was sort of over here. We obviously did have some weekly closes below it. Maybe you could look at that wick right there, but also noting that we never went below that level ever again either. Okay, and once we break it, then we can go down. But historically, we have not gone below where we previously held the line. And then furthermore, we can keep going back and say, all right, well, Bitcoin also held the line here, and it also held the line here. Clearly, we never went back to that price. It held the line here as well. We never went back to that price, and so on and so forth. And then finally, we can go back in 2011 and also say, all right, well, we also held the line at approximately 71 cents. Viewer discretion is advised. And then, of course, we never went back to that price either. So it is a certainly lofty goal for us to expect that Bitcoin can hold the line at $40,000. I certainly have mixed thoughts on the matter. I think that holding the line at 40K would be the most ideal scenario, of course, like to just hold the line at 40K and to have some type of pattern where Bitcoin is in this sort of local double top, and we do something like this where we come up to the top, back down to the bottom, back up to the top, and then back down to, around the midpoint, maybe a little bit lower than the midpoint, and then come back up. This would obviously be the most attractive chart pattern to have at this point, right? At this point. But I also don't want people to assume that it has to hold, and this is why I'm pretty skeptical about saying, it has to. I would like for it to hold, but if you go look at this level, we can also note that we have seen, similar charts in the past to something like this. Sometimes we hold, that asset has held sort of at the midpoint and then gone up, but there have been a few occasions where, we actually came back down to the bottom and then went up, and even a few occasions where we came back down and even put in a lower low from where we did over here and then went up from that point. And especially you can really see this in the S&P back in say the 2000s, right? That's where you most notably see that chart pattern of sort of kind of coming up to the top, back down, back up top, back down, and then we finally broke out from that point, and then it's been more or less in an uptrend ever since. So to go back to this idea, the idea sort of spawned from this notion that we had in the past that holding the line at the bull market support band was significant, not in the sense that you typically see a nice bounce to new all-time highs, which we did technically see a new all-time high, as pathetic as it was, but it also has historically held the consequence of meaning that we would not go below that price ever again. So it sort of had two different meanings in the past. And it certainly seems like it meant that at 10K, we never went back down to 10K. I don't think we're going to go back down to those levels. Now we just have to wait and see if this $40,000 level will hold or not, or $40,000 to $42,000 level, if it's going to hold or not. And if we do get a bounce off of it, then even then we still have to contend with this bull market support band that's starting to roll over here and then getting back above that. We have done it before, right? It's not an impossible task. We have done it before, and we did hold it as support. So hopefully we can do it again. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the Telegram channel, which you can find a link to in the description below. Remember, we do have the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.